Obama condemns Syria as security forces open fire on protesters, killing more than 70. Libya's deputy foreign minister claims tribal groups loyal to Gaddafi say they'll deal with rebels in Misrata if the army can't. Welcome to BBC News Broadcasting to our viewers in the UK and around the world. I'm Deborah Mackenzie. President Barack Obama has condemned what he called Syria's outrageous use of violence after human rights groups said government forces had killed more than 70 protesters. President Obama also accused Syria's president of seeking Iranian help in repressing its citizens. Tens of thousands of people had taken to the streets across the country after Friday prayers when opposition groups say security forces fired on them indiscriminately. Syria's state news agency denied that live ammunition had been used. Caroline Hawley reports.
Protesters had wanted to make this their biggest day of demonstrations yet, and around the country they poured onto the streets, chanting here for the downfall of the regime. This was a statue of President Assad's father, Hafez, who he took over from 11 years ago. A day after Bashar al-Assad lifted a state of emergency in place for nearly half a century, the world was watching to see how his forces would respond. The answer came quickly. These pictures, filmed by the protesters themselves, apparently in the city of Homs. And throughout the day, the toll of dead and injured grew steadily. One woman in Homs told the BBC what it had been like there.
The security forces got crazy and they started shooting at the protesters directly at their chests because the number of protesters, it was enormous, it was huge. That's why they started directly shooting at them.
Among the casualties was a 12-year-old boy. The pictures of his fatal injuries are too graphic to show. The White House has deplored the Syrian authorities' use of violence. William Hague said the killing of demonstrators was unacceptable and called on the government to implement political reforms without delay. The protests began 5 weeks ago. As they've escalated, President Bashar al-Assad has made a series of concessions. As well as lifting the country's emergency law, he's formed a new government, released some detainees and fired some local officials. All moves dismissed by protesters as cosmetic and too little too late.
Now he has attempted reforms, found they haven't had a receptive audience, and it hasn't stemmed popular mobilization in every one of Syria's major cities, including Damascus itself. The only real course of action, one that's open to him with a loyal, unified army, is to initiate what will be a bloodbath.
He could try making further reforms, but risks having those interpreted as weakness. More repression and bloodshed is likely to radicalise opponents. Bashar al-Assad is now facing an unprecedented and growing challenge to his rule. Caroline Hawley, BBC News.
Libya's deputy foreign minister has said that tribal groups around Misrata loyal to Colonel Gaddafi have